Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you have any rebirth in your thought process or some full circle moments at all?
Yeah, I've had a bunch, but not there's not been like a line where the morning I woke up on my 50th birthday and found things were different. When I realized that I had it all kind of started not too many years ago. I had this weird conversation with my mother, who, as she gets older, and she's 89 now, she doesn't give a lot of credence to age.
Yeah.
And she says that a lot of people her age, you just stop really paying a lot of attention to it because it's kind of meaningless, and really is something to be said for, the power that your mind has over the impression of your age,
Yeah.
and I've seen that to be really true. And that, when I was younger, my focus was all about the future and how in the future, by God, everything's going to be different. My mother talks about the thing that you need to avoid is the opposite thing of like constantly staring backwards, thinking about how if only this could have been different,
Yeah.
things might have turned out differently. And at 50 now, I'm finding myself in this kind of unique position where I'm more able to appreciate the moment I'm living in than I ever have been in my life. And it's been coming along. I mean, over the past few years, it's been coming along. And over the past year specifically, I've really been paying a lot of attention to that, because I think it's been part of a process of healing from depression that I've been thinking about, is just being able to appreciate, the moment that I'm living in, and appreciate the little things that kind of make up the day, and giving them the value that they deserve.
Well, it's one of those things about just subscribing to the now.
Right.
But,
Exactly. It's a subject that I never get tired of thinking about. I think about it a lot. What it means, and I've been in this therapy with my therapist. I've been in therapy when I can. I'm on the road too much to really actually do much, but she talks a lot about practicing mindfulness, and I try to do that as every day, because it actually does help. But it gives me an opportunity to think about placing a value on the things that I used to take for granted. And when I started to place a lot of value on, for instance, this moment, us having this nice conversation, or just any little thing, I have a lot more of a general feeling of satisfaction than I used to.
yeah. What do you see? I mean, you read a lot about time and getting older with the characters in your songs, but how do you view time as an idea and an entity of what it is and is not?
I've been having these weird conversations with several of my friends lately, and all my friends are around my age, and so I think we're all kind of going through some of the same existential kind of things together. But a lot of us who talk about this, and it's funny because all of my friends now are like, they're all, from like San Diego to Denver, Minneapolis, Winona, Minnesota, Asheville, New York City, Boston. There's like people are spread out all over the place. I have these weird conversations about the same thing. It's really strange in kind of a geographical way. But the way I think about time lately is that it's far from being like a linear thing. It to me, if I envision time, I'm envisioning like when you work with metal on a lathe, like if you're cutting the resonator cone out of aluminum from a guitar. I've seen this happen. The waste aluminum that you're cutting off the cone, it comes out in this like continuous strand, this spiraling strand of metal.
Yeah.
And what it does is it has no like rhyme or reason. The way it spirals, it crosses itself. It goes straight for a minute, then it goes all wonky. It goes crazy.
Yeah.
It goes up. It goes down. It near misses with itself. You know, and that seems to me what time must look like if you could see it, because there are times that you feel really, really close to like another time that you may have like experienced. And you know, not to sound really, really crunchy about it, but you know, the more I pay attention to what it's like, that's really how I feel, that it's not either steady or linear at all. It's something completely different. And I think you have to be a little bit agnostic about it. Even scientists, I think, you know, they're just like flying by the seat of their pants, even as much as they do know. You know, you have to kind of accept that, you know, there's so much that we don't really understand about the nature of those kinds of things.
Well, it's true. It's
still really fun to think about.
Yeah, well, and it also plays into this the tone of music you play, the old time style, where you have a song that could be 100 years old that sounds like it was written today, because of the whole like nothing's the same, everything's the same in terms of themes and people.
Right. Well, that's true. I mean, music is easily as elusive as time is when you're thinking about what it must look like. You know, I'm a big fan of the idea, and I think Victor Wooten talked about this in his book, The Music Lesson, about you know, this idea that music is a thing in itself that, you know, really existed a priori. It's just already done. It's a thing that's already created in its entirety. It has nothing to do with any other discipline. It is its own thing. It's not a language. It's not a mathematics, and we don't create it. We participate in it.
Yeah.
And in a big way, in a very real way, it creates us when we participate in it. And so, you know, when a song, when I get to write a song, when the song like comes to me, or I have a song occur to me, or whatever it is that process is like, you know, that it feels like, in a real sense, it kind of feels like there was something there passing by, and I happened to be the interceptor of it,
the antenna.
And it did have more to do with changing me than it had to do with me changing the song. But now that time is like continued on its little journey, the music, of course, is you know, able to select from all these different, you know, periods of your life where it couldn't do that before.
What do you see as the importance of the old time sound in our modern world, where there's just technology and distraction and everything's very fast and there's studio tricks and all that stuff? What do you see the importance of what you're doing as one person and one instrument, and no trickery, being on stage with those old time sounds?
Well, a couple things, I guess. One thing is I actually do really appreciate a lot of musicians who are using a lot of technology nowadays, and especially the musicians who are incorporating some of the older sounds with some of the newer technology to come up with kind of almost like a new folk music. But they are also, you know, they're musicians who are also really, really participating in the old music as a unique skill set. I think for me, it provides me with a challenge to, like, because I've been using kind of the guitar ever since I fell in love with Resonator guitars when I was, you know, a teenager.
Yeah.
And I've never gotten tired of that sound. And not only have I never gotten tired of it, I've also never found the bottom of it, you know?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I think the key is, you know, that some of these old instruments are still around because their potential is really, really deep.
Yeah.
You know, I know, you know, fiddle players, for example, who are, you know, into their 50s and 60s, who are like as excited about the sounds that they're creating as they ever were, because the well is so deep. And I think that's the thing is, you know, when you've got a hands-on kind of activity, that there's no interference. You know, when you work with another like an electronic medium. There's the sound.
Yeah.
There's the thing making the sound. There's hardware and software, and then eventually at the other end of the spectrum, there's you doing something. So you're part of the process. But and when you pick up a resonator guitar or a banjo or something, suddenly all those middle pieces are gone. It's just you and the thing that's actually creating the sound.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Well, I think